What up guys, Alex here, GuitarForce.com. So as you can see today we're going to take a look at Who Knows by the band of Gypsys, Jimi Hendrix. And this is going to be on the longer version of the song, which is I think around 9 minutes or so, that the band played on New Year's Eve at the Fillmore East. And was kindly requested and supported by Ara, so big thanks goes out to him. And this is going to be just a part of the lesson on the song. The entire lesson, the full lesson is going to be available at GuitarForce.com. The link is going to be in the description box down below. And let me just take a minute and explain what I did with the full lesson. So if you don't want to listen to me explaining that, you can skip that. I'm going to leave the time code in the description box down below. But if you're interested in the full lesson, let me explain what I did. So basically I've divided it into two parts. The first part covers the intro, the first verse, first solo, second verse and second solo. Now if you don't know, or you might know, during the second solo, Jimmy breaks the high E string. He finishes this solo and then stops playing and goes back to change the string. But the song continues on. So Buddy Miles, the drummer, he keeps singing, keeps the song going on. Billy Cox on bass, obviously is playing with him. And after the verse, when Buddy is singing, Jimmy, after changing the string, comes back on and starts playing. He basically plays the solo up until the end of the song. So there is no singing, just the solo, kind of longer solo. So what I did is I've divided the lesson into two parts, like I said. So the first part covers all of that up until Jimmy breaks down the high E string. So you can get just that part and you will cover, like I said, all of the two verses and the two solos and the intro, and you can have just that. But if you're interested in the second solo as well, it's going to be on a separate video. All right, so it's going to be like a two-part lesson. It's a big lesson because the song is it's a little bit longer. So, and there is also obvious the first part and the second part. So the two parts are going to be available at GuitarForce.com. Alright, so that is that regarding the song. I'm also going to mention here the course that I have on Jimmy's style of playing. If you hadn't had a chance to check it out, it's called Get Experienced. It's also a very big course in two parts. I'm not going to go into too much details here, but I will leave also the links in the description box down below. You can check out the preview of the entire course. And if you're interested, you can get it at GuitarForce.com. Also, I'm going to leave a link to the playthrough cover of that song, which is going to be available on my other channel when I put the both parts together. The playthroughs are going to be available with the downloads as well, with the full lessons. And for the sound, I was using the VST plugin Guitar Rig as usual. And the tuning for this song is going to be half step down on all the strings. I know that Jimmy tuned it slightly lower than that, but for the sake of the lesson, we're just going to stick to half step down on all the strings. And while you are checking out the picture of the preset, I'm going to play you my low E string so you can tune up and play along with this lesson. Alright, so now let's go for the close-up and check out the intro part. Alright, so we're going to break up this song into a lot of small parts because this song consists of small little parts like the intro, riff, then it goes into a little solo, then it goes into a verse, then another solo, another verse, and so on and so forth. So we're going to break it up into parts, and the intro goes like this. This is just the beginning when Jimmy's playing on the guitar and the announcer announces the band. So Jimmy's just playing on the guitar and it goes like this. I'm going to play through the riff, we're going to break it down, then we go to the next part. So it goes like this. Okay, so I'm gonna stop right here, because after that the band kicks in and they start playing all together. So this part that Jimmy's playing on the guitar, basically he's just playing one riff, which is being played here. So just a side note, everything, the whole song is based on that groove, on that riff that is being played throughout the entire song. There are some variations of that riff and in some parts, but generally speaking the whole song is based on that riff. And the bass player, Billy Cox, is playing this riff throughout the entire song. So also another side note, just to mention that the whole song, this riff is based on the D minor pentatonic D blues scale. So we have this position right here. So this is where the most of the action takes place, and for the solos and also for during the verses and stuff like that. Of course, Jimmy goes into playing it here, but we'll get into that a little bit later on. So the riff itself, as you can hear, so that's the first part. So we're going to be playing between 12 and 10 on the D string, and also keep in mind that we have a swing feel applied to this riff. So it's not, and it's also applied to 16th notes. So it's not 8th notes, but it's 16th notes. But 16th notes played as the swing feel. So in other words, the first note is a little bit longer, the second is shorter. As you can see, this part, it's played with the swing feel. So the riff itself goes like this. We play between 12 and 10 on the D string 2 times. Then we go down to the A string and we play 12, 11, 10, going down the blues scale. Then we go to... So here the variations occur, and you will find these little variations when Jimmy's playing this riff throughout the entire song. So the basic riff, like I said, is between these 2 strings. And then, like in the beginning, he might play the 12th fret on the A string, going to 13 on the low E, and then playing the very first time he plays back to 10 on the D string. But then he switches to the G string 10th fret, like that. So that note, when we play after the blues scale, right here, the 12th fret on the A, you can hear he's playing that note, or instead of the 12th fret, he plays the open A string, going to 13, like that. So it would be like that. So after the 13 on the low E, then the very first time, like I said, we go to the D string, but then afterwards he continues playing on the G string here, 10th fret, adding some vibrato, and then going back to 12 on the D again. So that's the whole riff. Okay, so like I said, a lot of little variations here and there by using that notes. Instead of the open A string, he could play something else. But the main riff, that's the main riff. Now also, after a couple of times when he goes into... So when he goes to here, he just plays this as a kind of power chord. Okay, so we have the G chord here, power chord, playing 2 times. And also you're going to hear a lot of dead strings in between. So Jimmy's playing this kind of funky rhythm where he plays, his right hand is constantly going in that rhythm. And if he gets in the dead strings, that's totally fine. So he might play like that. So there is a, when he goes to the F chord here, he just, before that he just picks the dead strings in between. So that's another variation, like that. Now the last time, before last time actually playing the riff, there is a little pause, and you can see it in the tablature. So when he plays, he pauses here and then plays like that. So here I'm playing an octave, so playing here 10th fret on the low E, 12 on D, just as an accent. And you can hear that right before he plays the last time, before the whole band kicks in. So he plays like that. So before that, and then from that moment on, the whole band kicks in, and he continues playing the riff, but now using the power chord G going to F. So he plays this riff with the use of the power chord, and then after a couple of times when he plays, you can hear these quick pull-offs going on. So he plays the G string 10th fret and then plays kind of quick pull-offs like that. So it's just going down the pentatonic scale basically. So he plays like that. Then there is a rest, or he might include some dead strings just to keep the rhythm going, like that. One variation after he plays this the first time, so he introduces the lower strings as well. So he goes from the 1st fret to the 3rd here, little rest, then he comes back to the 8th fret here on the A string. So he just picks, he plays some of the notes, not entirely the whole riff as it is, but just plays certain notes of the riff at the appropriate times when these notes occur. Okay, so 1, 2, 3 on the low E, then goes to the 8th fret on the A string, playing the G string 10th fret, again playing these quick pull-offs like that. So I mean, it doesn't really matter how many strings you get. If you get just a couple of strings, you know, that's totally fine. If you get the low E as well, you know, it's totally up to you. So something like that, something along the lines. And like I said, a lot of, you know, adding the dead strings in there. So after we play this, after we've played this, we then play just 10th fret here on the A string again, adding some dead strings, and then again 10th fret, and adding again the pull-offs. So this is the part that he plays before the going into the solo. Now on the playthrough I did a shorter version of that, so I included some of those riffs with some of those variations, but on the CD actually it's a little bit longer. But you know, just to you know, play to the backing track and not entirely play exactly note for note what he did in the beginning of the song. I mean, you know, he just plays different variations of that riff, adding some of those licks. So I've included those in the playthrough, in the intro that I did. So I'm gonna play through the entire intro now up to that first little solo. I'm gonna do it slowly, and you can see what's going on. So it goes like this. Okay, so that was the intro, as you can see, with all these different variations and licks in between. You can use these and you can expand on them and just play the riff a little bit longer if you want to. Okay, so after that we go into this little first solo, which goes like this. Alright, so I'm going to stop right here. Let's break down the solo. So we start off with the B string, 13 frets, pick the note, bend it up, add some vibrato, go into the 10th fret on the G string, again adding these quick pull-offs. Next phrase. So starting 10 frets on the G, going to 12, bending up, picking that note first, bending it up, bring it down, 10, 12, 10, little rest, then picking the note again, and then adding the pull-offs. Adding some dead strings here. Next lick. So here, B string, 13th fret, picking the note, bending it up. As you bend up, you pick the note again. Then bring it down, again picking the note, bring it up, and then as you bend up, add the 13th fret of the high E string. So we have like that. And as you play this double stop, then adding a little bit of a vibrato, you can do it with the whammy bar, with the tremolo arm of the guitar. Now the next lick, it's a little bit tricky one. So Jimmy did a lot of those licks where he bends the string first. So in this case he starts off with the high E string, 13th fret, so he bends it up, and as he bends it up, he then catches the B string on the 13th fret, so on the same fret, and brings it down. So this lick he did a lot in his playing. Not only on high E, but on B and the G strings as well. So he did that in this particular solo. So bending 13 on the high E, catching the B string, bringing it down. Then he plays 10 on the B, and then he does the same thing basically. So, but on the B string now. So 10, 13, bend up. As you bend up, catch the G string, you bring it down. And then, so we have, then you bring it down and then you play. So here, holding this double stop, now he goes on to the 12th fret on the G string while holding, fretting the 13 on the B, and he plays, so he bends this G string up while the B remains on the 13th fret. He bends up the G string, plays another stroke of the two strings, brings it down, and then, so here bending the 10th fret, bending up, bringing it down of the G string. So this one is a little bit tricky and might take a little bit of time, but it's a very cool lick. So from the beginning, slowly it's going to be like this. And then he goes back to, so playing the riff a couple of times. And then we go into another part, into the next part. Alright guys, so that was it for this part. If you would like to continue learning the entire song, All of the links are going to be in the description box down below. Thank you very much for checking it out. Thank you very much for the support by purchasing my products. I really appreciate that. And till next video, I'll see you again. Take it easy, and as always, let the force be with you.